Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
In a rare move, North Korea's state television releases photos of Jang Song-taek being arrested and physically removed from a Politburo meeting, putting the fate of Pyongyang's former number 2 man into question.
And it's a series of controversial comments coming from the main opposition Democratic Party. More coming up in the headlines. And more than 4,000 railway workers are released from their posts in the midst of a walkout. Details coming up.
Korea revises its air defense zone for the first time in 6 decades, extending it to cover Yeoudo. Dr. Kim Cheol-woo from the Korea Institute for Defense Analyses joins us to share his take. And style over comfort, from blisters, calluses, and corns to arthritis, bunions, and back pain. High heels can play a number on you. We have more on prevention and treatment options on Tuesday, December 10th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good to have you with us on Korea Today on this Tuesday morning.
Not just any other Tuesday, but today is Human Rights Day, which was declared by the UN General Assembly in the year 1950 to bring attention to the world, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and set that as a standard for people from all walks of life and from anywhere and everywhere in the world.
That's right. And this year they're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. And some of the notable achievements they've made so far over the decades is recognizing the rights of women, people with physical disabilities, as well as mental disabilities, and gays and lesbians, and putting these on the international agenda. And various events will be held across the world to commemorate Human Rights Day today.
That's right. And here in Korea as well. And we'll get to that later on Korea Today. But first, here's Na Hyun-kyung with your headlines.
And as you heard at the top of the hour, North Korea's now former second-in-command Jang Song-taek has been arrested and ousted in front of his fellow ruling Workers' Party members. Photos of Jang being arrested were released, and the North state-run media called him and his aides a quote-unquote gang that has conducted anti-state activities, committing a crime against the regime.
With Jang Song-taek being ousted, North Korea will no longer allow a strong number 2 figure. The Kim Jong-un leadership will be strengthened even more.
Some analysts say Jang's removal will likely be followed by dismissals of thousands, if not tens of thousands, of Jang's aides. Other analysts, however, say there's still the possibility that some of Jang's supporters who feel threatened might do something extreme and resist collectively against the regime. China says it's regrettable. Japan says it's not a problem. Regarding Korea's declaration of its revised air defense zone, China says it has told Korea that its announcement was regrettable and called for a smooth way to resolve the matter. Beijing's foreign ministry spokesman Hong Lei says both countries are aware that a submerged rock known as Yeoudo in Korea is laying on the two countries' overlapping exclusive economic zones, and also share the understanding that it's not disputed territory. Meanwhile, Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga says Japan is okay with Korea's announcement since Seoul notified Tokyo in advance, unlike China. The air defense zone issue has raised tensions in the region after China's unilateral declaration of its air defense zone last month. It's one controversial comment after another following opposition Democratic Party lawmaker Jang Ha-na's official denial of last year's presidential election results. Representative Yang Seung-jo says President Park Geun-hye should take heed of warnings from the public if she does not want to face the same fate as her father.
Former President Park Chung-hee could not have foreseen being assassinated by the weapons that he himself created. President Park Geun-hye should know better and take that as a lesson.
The ruling Tenri Party as well as the presidential office of Cheongwade are outraged at Yang's comments. Cheongwade called his remarks an act of verbal terror and the equivalent to murdering the president, especially since both of her parents were assassinated. The presidential office is calling on the opposition party to clarify its stance. The DP says Cheongwade has overly distorted what Yang said. Members of Korea's main railway union are continuing their indefinite walkout. The union is protesting against the government's plan to form a subsidiary to manage new KTX routes departing from southern Seoul, saying the move will eventually lead to the privatization of the country's state-run railway corporation, Korail. However, the government says the union's argument holds no ground and has removed the more than 4,000 workers who participated in the boycott from their posts. KTX trains and the city subway lines operated normally, however, on Monday, not really affecting commuters in the Seoul metropolitan area. But the operations of regular train services such as the Saemaeul and Mugunghwa dropped to 63%, while those of freight train services dropped to about 36% of normal levels.
And good morning, everyone. Time for a look through your newspaper headlines. As you can see, the top story grabbing the attention of our dailies this morning is the confirmed and really unprecedented public display of the fall of North Korea's former number 2 and uncle to number 1, Kim Jong-un. 중앙일보's headline reads, just like China's disgraced politician Bo Xilai, Chang Song-taek's purge broadcast on TV. And there's that image just above that headline that was not only seen by eyes around the world, but also eyes in the reclusive state, the 67-year-old being dragged out as the charges against him were being read out. The image was reportedly broadcast via Pyongyang state-run broadcaster KCNA one day after the expanded Workers' Party Central Committee meeting that expelled him. Now, such a display is unprecedented, the paper says. The broadcast included the string of charges against him, including wasting foreign currency on gambling and that he was a drug-taking womanizer, signs that he had, quote-unquote, become infected with capitalism. Meanwhile, North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, was seen presiding a meeting with new gold-rimmed glasses that we have not seen before. Scooting over to our next newspaper, 동아일보 now. The story is on most of our dailies this morning. Let's go ahead and take a swift look through some of the other news headlines that made the front page. This story right here takes us to the political realm, more public criticism of President Park Geun-hye from a Democratic Party lawmaker. Story you already heard in the headlines. 동아일보's headline reads, President Park could follow her late father Park Chung-hee's tragic end. DP's Yang Seung-jo's comments caused a stir. That tragic end, of course, you'll recall, referring to former President Park Chung-hee's assassination. And the sub-headline noting the presidential office of Cheongwade's strong reaction, calling the three-term lawmaker's words verbal murder and incitement to terrorism. All right, and scooting right over to our next newspaper now, Gyeongyang Shinmun. It sheds light on the latest development on the unionized rail workers' walkout. The headline right there on the left reads, Labor Union Government Collide Over Railway Privatization. And the sub-headline notes that some 4,000 union members were released from their posts on the same day that the walkout began. And moving over to our next paper now, 조선일보. We'll go ahead and take a look at this story here. It has its eyes on the situation unraveling in Thailand. The headline reading, Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra dissolves parliament. And the sub-headline going on there to say that she also called for early elections by February of next year. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up today's in print with a look at Made Business newspaper. This headline right here reads, Foreign brains pack up, state coffers leak. And the sub-headline adds that the government had spent some 700 billion won or $664 million since the year 2008 to bring in great minds from the outside for research and development. But 86% of them have since left the country. Despite the growing number of foreign professionals overall working here in Korea, those in R&D, what the paper calls a critical element to a country and company's competitiveness, is shrinking. And the inserted graph there does show that shrinking trend of foreign R&D workers. April of this year recording some just under 2,800. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Tuesday. Next up are your closing numbers from Monday's market action.
Yesterday was a wet and gloomy day. I wonder what today will be like weather-wise.
Oh, usually following the storm, there is the cold. So we'll go to Lee Dami, who joins us with the weather report. Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Sangdong-gu, Seoul. Now, yesterday we did receive some nationwide precipitation, which did clear out last night. Thanks to all that rain, we are starting this Tuesday morning off with some much-needed fresh air because the rain did wash away most of the fine dust. However, temperatures have plummeted quite a bit. This morning here in Seoul, it's negative 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, this cold snap is expected to continue throughout the week and linger on into the weekend, so make sure to bundle yourselves up from head to toe. Now, another heads up is sometime between tomorrow morning and Thursday afternoon, we are going to receive snow, throughout most of the nation, which means you might want to be careful on the roads because they may be quite icy or snowy and quite slippery as well. All right, let's now get a check on the numbers around the peninsula. Seoul's highs are coldest at 4, Daejeon and Gangneung at 7, Daegu and Gwangju at 8, Busan the warmest at 10, Jeju at 9 degrees. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half to introduce to you a location that might quench your thirst.
The Korean government this past Sunday afternoon announced it will revise its air defense identification zone so that it covers its territory Yeodo, south of Jeju Island. The country's air defense zone, which had remained intact for over 60 years, was expanded just 15 days after China unilaterally announced its new air defense zone. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden's East Asia tour to Korea, China, and Japan to gauge sentiment in the region, and Washington's tacit support provided a basis for this decision. In his first stop in Japan, the Vice President Biden and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced in their joint press conference their concerns regarding China's unilateral decision and also reaffirmed to work closely together on the issue.
We will not tolerate China's attempt to change status quo with force and reaffirmed our joint commitment in responding to this issue.
As the cornerstone of stability and security in East Asia, and we are fully committed to our announced strategy of rebalancing as well in the Pacific.
In his next stop in China, unlike in Japan, rather than addressing the air defense zone, the two sides focused on building a new framework for the two leading powers. This is viewed as a move to reduce tensions between the two countries and prevent things from escalating after both sides engaged in a show of force. And on the 5th, the vice president arrived at his final stop, Korea, and met with President Park Geun-hye to discuss the air defense zone as well as other issues related to national security. And on Saturday, he wrapped up his three-leg East Asia tour. Biden said during his speech at Yonsei University that the U.S. will not recognize China's air defense zone.
I was very direct about my country's position on China's sudden announcement of an air defense identification zone. This announcement, to state the obvious, has created considerable apprehension across the region.
The day after Vice President Biden departed from Korea, Seoul announced its revised air defense zone. And with this, the controversy has reached a new phase, with many closely watching to see how things will evolve.
And for more on the developments of this controversy, we are now joined by Dr. Kim Cheol-woo from the Korea Institute for Defense Analyses. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Good to be here.
All right, following Washington's reaction, Washington was the first to respond to Korea's new air defense zone. Japan was second. Tokyo said it was okay with Korea's announcement of its revised air defense zone. How is it different in nature from China's? Because that's what Tokyo said, that it was okay because it was in nature different from China's announcement of its air defense zone.
Interesting, isn't it? Unlike the Chinese unilateral declaration of their own version of ADIZ, the Korea's case is kind of a reasonable response to include South Korea's original territory. Although all air defense identification zones are not territorial claims, but it symbolically involves the sovereignty issues. So Seoul's case is very reasonable to include Mara-do, Hongdo, or southern tip of Yeodo, right?
Those overlapping with Japan's zone.
The thing is, the Korea's so-called KADIZ, Korean Air Defense Identification Zone, was set up in 1951 by the United States military, which means United States has some, kind of original responsibility not include those kind of original Korean territory. So I think the Korea's case is not unilateral or of a sudden declaration. We discussed this issue with Washington and Japan and China, even China. We notified in advance to our own intention too. The problem is overlapping issues over the Yeodo area. So how can we discuss and solve how to reduce down unexpected military clashes? It might happen because the all unidentified aircraft must, report to all the concerned authorities, to even Seoul's air, petrol authorities. So in case of a sudden scrambling and fighter jets, meeting over in area, competing zones. So this could lead to the channels of communication. So I think it's escalating mode, but it can be a good chance to have a regional crisis management mechanisms or regional security dialogue mechanisms. I think I'm not too pessimistic in interpreting this kind of new development.
So Japan is saying that Korea was able to develop that understanding in advance of notifying and in advance of announcing its air defense zone. And China's foreign ministry spokesperson Hong Lei just said yesterday that Korea's announcement was regrettable, but it is still open to channels of communication. That was on last Friday, but most analysts seem to not believe that this will become a source of conflict between Beijing and Seoul. Why so?
Chinese foreign ministry's rhetoric, like diplomatic rhetoric, regret is not a big deal. So China's main target is Japan over the Diaoyu or Senkaku Islands. So I think China wants to fight over two main targets, or two main area enemies. So I think China wants to handle, in a sense, with the Seoul's, kind of a cooperation in solving this kind of their own claiming that Diaoyu Islands. So I think the Seoul can maneuver a little bit in terms of incorporating all the concerned parties and have a dialogue. So I think at this point is the civilian aircraft is okay to the Korea's new expanded Cadiz. But as I said, the military competition or escalation in the area sites, the area zones, is very problematic. China is a little bit reluctant to confront with the Seoul's authorities. I think that's good news because China wants to, have a hand with the Seoul to, counter the American dominance. So I think that there is a controversy regarding the Joe Biden's kind of interpretation. So some of the commentators interpreted the Joe Biden's comment as a kind of a China or United States. But the bottom line, what I'm saying is that Korea's defense posture is definitely with the United States. That's the fundamental basics of a Korean security situation here.
So based on what you said and based on how analysts are analyzing this as well, so is it safe to say that Korea has now steered away from the controversy? In other words, the tensions weigh more on China and Japan over the Senkaku and Diaoyu Islands in the East China Sea rather than Seoul. And you even said that Seoul will be able to play the mediator here.
Yes. So Washington can be a mediator, but it's too big to be a mediator but they have no kind of territorial issues here. So Washington could play a kind of backup force to boost Japan or Seoul's kind of positioning. So I think China's main perception toward Washington is not the docile. So China's stance is really bit strong against the United States bombers flying war. The point is how can all concerned parties patrol this area? So I would say the combat readiness kind of patrol is very problematic. So I think the regular patrol, like the Korea's case, maritime patrol, air patrol, this is okay. So the point is the escalation is the biggest problem. That could trigger the more broader regional conflict.
So Washington would still want to strengthen their position and their presence in the region in Northeast Asia. How will they achieve this then?
So I think they can use the Japan's Air Force or naval forces or the Korea's naval force. They will not involve directly with the military American aircrafts in that region. I mean the overlapping region. So all concerned parties can sit down and talk about how they can handle the unexpected sudden escalation of the tensions in that area. So Washington can play a kind of second fiddle to calm down a little bit, like a Joe Biden case is calm down. So I think Washington could be a chairman to solve this problem. So that's very interesting developments here in
All right.
Korea.
So lastly, what would you say the next step is for Korea then? I mean, what would you say Korea has achieved through this progress, if anything?
South Korea's defense ministry is very strong to determine to keep this area because it's sovereignty issues and national security issues. Particularly, Seoul is traditionally has been the army-based military capabilities, but from now on, Korean public perceive the Air Forces, F-15Ks, new F-35s, or the Aegis naval ships is very important. So I think the Air Force and Navy's military buildup will stepping up to keep the sovereignty and national interests of South Korea.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kim Chae-ru, for joining us this morning and answering some of our questions. We do appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
And still ahead, as the competition heats up in space exploration, Korea announces plans to land on the moon by 2020 using indigenous technology. We'll take a look at the government's mid to long-term aerospace development plans. Stay tuned.
And it's 24 minutes past the hour on this Human Rights Day. It marks the anniversary of the UN Declaration or Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It was a milestone document that was forged and basically drafted after World War II to deal with some of the effects and the after effects of the war and also prevent human rights violations from happening ever in the future.
That's right. And the Seoul Metropolitan Government and Amnesty International Korea are hosting a number of events starting from last Friday until today to commemorate the Human Rights Day today. And over the weekend, an event was held for elementary school students to help them learn the concept of human rights through fun games. So we'll find out more in this report.
This past Sunday, an event commemorating the 65th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was held at the Seoul Citizens Hall with elementary school students.
To celebrate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we have put this event together to give people an opportunity to think about and experience what human rights are. And we hope it becomes an opportunity for people to think about, pay attention to, and recognize the value of their own human rights and also other people's.
The children took part in a simple program designed to help them understand and experience the concept of human rights.
어린이라서 그런 거는 몰라도 돼 이렇게 이야기한 적 있어요?
In groups of 8 or 9, they learned about the human rights violations across the world through board games, and with this, they gained an understanding about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the reality of these rights in various countries.
우리는 모두 법 앞에서 평등하며 어떠한 차별 없이 법을 보호받을 수 있어요. 우리는 모두 독립적인 법원에서 공정한 재판을 받을 수 있어요.
They also wrote letters to children in countries experiencing rights violations to share with them a message of hope and courage.
소중한 아이들이 무거운 총을 들고 전쟁터에 나가선 안 돼요. 우리와 똑같이 배울 권리를 누려야 해요.
In Korea, human rights can come across as a difficult concept or be politicized. We wanted to show the fundamentals of human rights through this game in a way that's easy to understand.
The children who completed the game received a rights passport with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights written on it.
I think the concept of human rights still seems like something difficult to approach. It has become a word that only older adults use, and the younger people find it hard to approach even though it's a basic concept. That's why we are out here to celebrate the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Fun events help the participants understand the significance of human rights while commemorating the 65th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And with this, it will provide them with another opportunity to remember the importance of these universal and fundamental rights.
And also in the news, with countries around the world jumping into the race to space, Korea has recently unveiled its mid to long-term plans to develop its aerospace industry. And it also included a plan to send a lunar vehicle to the moon by 2020.
That's right. As the government has announced their long-term plans till 2040 as well. And it seems the question is, can Korea send a lunar landing by the year 2020, which is in about 6 years' time? We'll take a look at where Korea is in its space program.
In August, Korea launched the Arirang 5, a multi-purpose satellite equipped with its first synthetic aperture radar in Russia. The technology behind it received much attention as it was launched to monitor the country's landscape, resources, and natural disasters from 550 kilometers above ground. And on the 1st of this month, an image of a cloud-covered Paris shot using the satellite imaging radar on Arirang 5 was released, showing off the country's advanced satellite technology. Its greatest strength of being able to take crisp and high-resolution images despite bad weather conditions was proved through this one image. And amid the heightened interest in Korea's aerospace technology, attention is now on the government's mid- and long-term space development plans unveiled on November 26.
In terms of space development, Korea had used a catch-up strategy with advanced countries, and as a result, it has led to, in some cases, technological dependence on other states. That's why, to play a leading role, we have to put out this long-term space development plan.
According to the new roadmap, by December of 2020, the country aims to send to the moon a lunar rover on a space launch vehicle built with homegrown technology, as well as a robotic orbiter which will circle the moon.
In the mid and long term, we will pursue the exploration of Mars, asteroids, and also deep space, and also set up a space monitoring system in order to respond to dangers from space, such as objects falling to Earth, which has become more frequent.
After 2 failed attempts, Korea succeeded in launching its space rocket NATO-1 in January. With this successful launch, Korea entered the so-called Space Club for countries that are able to launch their own satellites into space. But the space launch vehicle was not completely indigenous.
NATO launch vehicle is a 2-stage rocket. And the first stage is Russian-made liquid rocket. And we made only the second stage, which is a solid rocket motor. Therefore, in some sense, NATO launch vehicle is not genuine Korean-made launch vehicle.
In order to make progress in space development, the most important task ahead is to build a space launch vehicle indigenous to Korea. In order to achieve this, the country is working on developing a 3-stage rocket. 4 75-ton engines will be combined to create the first stage, 1 75-ton engine will make up the second, and a 7-ton engine will be placed on top of that to create the third stage.
Korea may have not made its own launch vehicle in its entirety, but it has continued to develop and test a 30-ton range engine. So it has the basic technology required for a launch vehicle.
Meanwhile, on the 2nd of December, China's success in launching its spacecraft Chang'e 3 sent waves across the world. Touchdown for Chang'e 3 is expected to take place on the 14th, and if so, China will become the 3rd country in the world following the US and Russia to land on the moon.
I think we are about 20 or 30 years behind those countries. But the problem is the launch vehicle. In this area, it is almost impossible to get or learn key technologies from the other countries. But if I focus on the spacecraft only, I strongly believe that we are among top 10 countries which can manufacture a spacecraft.
Within the mid- and long-term space project, there is also the goal of expanding civilian participation to continue on with satellite development. By doing so, the country plans on shifting the focus from government-oriented projects to civilian projects and creating an industrial ecosystem to allow for sustainable space development. So the effects that this may bring to the aerospace industry is an issue of much interest and expectation.
Well, I don't think the space development is just a matter of simply sending a spacecraft into space. It should be more than that. So the importance of this revised version of long-term strategy and plans for the space development is that we are taking the space business very seriously.
The competition in space is in many ways inevitable, and Korea will continue to take on challenges to win recognition in the field and advance as an aerospace power in the world.
I think the latest announcement is significant in that until now, Korea has been playing catch-up on satellite and rocket development, but now the focus is shifting to developing a mid to long-term plan, looking 30 years down the road ahead and gaining that foothold in the aerospace technology.
That's right. Although Korea did start a little bit late in the space program, as you saw in the report, Korea does not right now currently have the indigenous technology to build 100% of the parts and the components that goes into a launch vehicle. But Korea does play catch up really quick, actually, and we will see if Korea can do that in 6 years' time.
Right.
But that is sort of an obstacle that is in the way there.
That's right. I mean, compared to the short history, though, Korea did advance a lot in the field, and that's why many experts are saying that Korea does have potential. I mean, the aerospace industry is a field that needs a long-term vision and planning, right? I mean, after all.
Okay, so we have a lot coming up.
Good luck to Korea because we do want to fly to the moon, right?
Well, I don't want to fly to the moon. It'll be way too expensive.
I want to fly to the moon.
Okay, well, why would you want to go to the moon? There's no water there, but Idami is at a place where they do have water.
Waterworks. She joins us from a Waterworks museum. Let's find out what that is about. Over to you, Dami.
That's right, guys. So water, or also known as H2O, takes up 70% of our body. Water is essential for us human beings to survive. Now, now these days, many people are actually shifting gears towards becoming more health-oriented. So one way to start a healthy habit is by drinking good quality water. That's exactly what brought me here to the Waterworks Museum. Now, there is a very special exhibition that will be taking place until the end of this month. Now, when you come here to the exhibition, you can find a variety of things, such as different topics based on the importance of water, what healthy water consists of, also how Mother Nature is hurting quite badly due to the lack of H2O. Now, a handful of you, or the majority of you, are probably thinking that water, well, it all just tastes the same. Well, it doesn't. Depending on the temperature of the water, the level of minerals, etc., it can change the taste of water. Now, here at the exhibition, you can also learn about Seoul's tap water called Arisu, which has been through 10 stages of purification. Now, they say that Arisu tastes its best when it's placed in a glass-type container for 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if we move along here this way, this is the 추억의 물 corner, or the memories of water corner. Here you can kind of relive the past, see what it was like to carry water itself. Now, I actually carried this jug earlier, but it was way too heavy. These baskets, or these containers, are actually a lot better to hold. Now, do keep in mind that they are empty, but it is still quite heavy, so you can only imagine how hard it must have been to carry water and just to get some good, refreshing water. Now, while I grew up, I never really, experienced any of this, but I'm pretty sure if my grandparents came here, then they would have a blast to the past. Now, as we move along in the museum, there's another corner that you can, program that you can experience, and it's the water whistles. Now, what's special about them is depending on how much water you put in them, it makes different noises. So, okay, this is a bit more high-tuned. Okay, this is kind of lower. So, like I said, this exhibition will be going on until the end of this month. If you do make reservations prior to your visit here at the Waterworks Museum, then there are so many other programs that are in store for you. Why not come by the museum, learn and experience about the history of water here in Korea, and learn a more appreciation for how valuable water really is. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
And still ahead, wear the wrong shoes and your legs can bend out of shape or develop health problems. From bunions to varicose veins, which may lead to surgery, we take a look at what health issues your feet and legs can experience and what to look out for when you're wearing heels. Heels.
Yes,
right.
heels.
We're going to talk about that later. But
give
now,
your feet a break there.
We will. All right, we're going to talk about Korean ceramic designs. And Korean ceramics have been recognized as cultural relics for a long time now, but they have been going through some contemporary transformations recently.
Well, how long is that? For thousands of years, and it has been going through several transformations in the form of design. It's been used as pottery pieces and now decorative art. We'll take a look at all the details of our ceramics.
The history of Korean ceramics dates back some 4,000 years, from the ancient Goryeo dynasty's jade green celadon Cheongja to Joseon dynasty's white porcelain Baekja. Korea's traditional ceramic designs have been highly recognized across the globe. And even today, the country's unique traditional ceramic designs, featuring one-of-a-kind contours, colors, and patterns, are still loved by many.
Although Korea first came in contact with the ceramic culture through China, Korean artisans quickly developed their own techniques to create distinctive and exceptional Korean ceramic ware. That's why we were able to become a highly advanced country when it comes to ceramic making.
how are Korean traditional ceramics made? The ceramic piece slowly reveals its soft and unique traditional curvatures after carefully molded mud is placed on the pottery wheel to undergo a detailed transformation. Although Korean ceramics are beautiful just with their simple yet elegant forms, when traditional drawings and patterns are added to these pieces, they become exceptionally graceful yet fancy. Especially, this rare technique of adding ashes and copper oxide as an enamel to apply reddish drawings is one of Korea's long ceramic design traditions that has continued for thousands of years. The weather, humidity, and slight difference in the kiln's temperature can all influence the color formation of the ceramics. That's why, in order to create the best design, a lot of painstakingly detailed work and procedures are required. Throughout the years, alluring ceramic designs have gradually transformed into pieces that combine both art and practicality. In Korea, there's a special annual exhibition where all kinds of ceramic designs are featured. These pieces, with their artistic and innovative designs, have now become important interior decorations. With such transformation, many are showing more interest in decorating their spaces with these unique and striking ceramics.
When I usually thought of ceramics, I imagined very traditional-looking dishware, but I really enjoyed the pieces here since the classic ceramics have been redefined to fit different spatial and visual dimensions.
Lively three-dimensional ceramic designs have also influenced contemporary ceramic trends. Today, the once simple and traditional ceramics have become more sophisticated and are largely commercialized and accepted by many Korean consumers. We visited a unique store to find more artistic yet practical ceramic designs. Here, there are all kinds of very unique ceramic furniture, like shelves, tables, and chairs. There's something extremely simple yet beautiful about these ceramic goods, and that's why many customers who visit the shop are pleasantly surprised by these interesting and unusual ceramic designs.
I think ceramic furniture is a very contemporary living design that contains both traditional and sophisticated aspects. That's why I believe these multifaceted pieces would fit perfectly anywhere.
We decided to see how ceramic furniture is made. Unlike normal ceramic ware that is made from manually molded mud, the basic frame of ceramic furniture is either made with wood or plaster. Once the water with mud hardens, the external plastic cover is removed, and the furniture, like other ceramic pieces, is placed in the kiln. And the final stage is to paint the ceramic furniture. From the furniture's first mold cast to the last stage of firing up ceramic pieces inside a 1,280 degrees Celsius kiln, it takes roughly 20 days to complete a piece of ceramic furniture. It's both practical and artistic, since it can easily be used as an everyday household item, as well as being displayed as a unique piece of art.
Ceramic designs can easily and efficiently be transformed to fit everyday furniture like chairs and tables. As these furniture pieces are made with ceramics, they won't easily go out of style or experience seasonal or water damage. That's why they are great fashionable indoor and outdoor pieces to keep for a long time.
Ceramics have long been a part of Korea and the Koreans' way of life. And today, this notable traditional ceramic asset continues to transform itself into more practical and useful designs. And with such positive trends, the future of Korean ceramic designs continues to have great potential.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the figure queen Kim Yeon-ah. Now, after dominating the Golden Spin of Zagreb over the weekend, she came back to Korea on Monday, welcomed by a number of fans and the media. And once everything got settled, the big question was, well, what's next? With 2 events to look forward to next year, Kim Yeon-ah stated that she will not participate in the 4 Continents Figure Skating Championships, which is set to take place from January 20th to the 26th. She stated that it's too close to the Sochi Winter Games and will not have enough time to prepare. Instead, she hinted that she might be participating in a domestic event during the National Sports Championship. Now, if so, it might be the last time the fans in the nation can watch Kim Yeon-ah compete as an active figure skater here in the nation. Now, staying with Kim Yeon-ah, looks like her future plans aren't the only thing buzzing on the internet at the moment. And when you're as big as Kim Yeon-ah is here in the nation, what she wears can even stir some controversy as well. Now, during the short program on Friday, Kim Yeon-ah was seen wearing a yellow dress which designer An Gyu-mi designed. And while the fans were mesmerized by Kim Yeon-ah's performance, they weren't too happy with her dress. Now, once the performance was over, the netizens criticized the design as some of them compared it to a pickled radish, which is bright yellow as well. While An refused all interviews, the designer's blog was also shut down shortly after. And moving on to baseball, if you thought the free agents in the KBO this offseason were paid the big bucks, well, one manager can say he did as well. Now, after leading the Samsung Lions to 3 consecutive Korea Series titles since taking over the job, manager Ryu Jung-il signed a 3-year deal that will have him managing the defending champions until 2016. The team agreed to pay him 600 million won, or roughly 571,000 US dollars up front, and 500 million won, or roughly 476,000 US dollars each year. That's the first time that any manager received 500 million won per year, as he becomes the highest paid manager in KBO history. Well, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Now, we've talked about fashion and how you have to kind of choose fashion or basically substance over style when it comes to the wintertime when you want to stay warm. But style over comfort. Now, that's a decision that many women do have to make. And Dr. Alice Hyun-Kyung-dan from Samsung Medical Center tells us about some of the consequences that may carry. Good morning.
Good morning. Right. So changes in footwear and also the cold of the winter season can cause pain, increased pain in the foot and also the leg. As you were mentioning, for example, some women love to wear in the wintertime sort of the woolly, flat boots.
They're really comfortable ones.
And that they're very comfortable, but that can actually lead to a condition called plantar fasciitis, which is one of the leading causes of foot pain. Also, long boots that have high heels, very bad for the foot because it causes increased tension in the foot and severely compromises flexibility in the ankles and toes. So, although some women may find it very difficult to sacrifice style for foot health, at least knowing about the risk is an important first step to having, I think, healthier and happier feet.
Happier feet.
Happier feet. And to help you find out more about that and also what can be a podiatrist's nightmare, here's a report.
It is every woman's dream to have long, slim, and beautiful legs. But there are signals of health problems that can be found in your legs. This is because of the 3 most common problems found in women's legs. They are plantar fasciitis, hallux valgus, commonly known as bunions, and varicose veins. If you have plantar fasciitis, it causes a shooting pain in your foot. This is because the ligament which cushions the shock felt by the sole of the foot is damaged. When wearing shoes and boots with high heels for extended periods of time, it causes the weight of the body to shift toward the front of the foot, adding more stress to that area. The number of patients who have received medical treatment for plantar fasciitis jumped by 2.7 times over the past 5 years, hitting roughly 138,000 in 2012. The condition commonly develops with aging as the fat layer in the foot becomes thinner, but recently there have been an increase in the number of patients in their 20s and 30s.
If you don't treat it properly, you can experience extreme pain when walking or when you set your foot down first thing in the morning. It can also cause pain in the back, so it's better for women to try to wear heels less.
High heels can be a source of another problem for women, and that is bunions. This refers to a bony bump that forms when the big toe pushes against the other toes, causing a deformity in the foot. Shin Min-suk recently received surgery for it because the pain was too severe that it prevented her from walking.
The part sticking out on the side of my big toe hurts a lot and it gets blisters, so my legs hurt and feel tired even when I walk just a bit, and my back hurts as well.
Bunions prevent you from walking in a normal posture, and the pain felt in one side of the foot can add increased stress and strain on the knees and back. This can potentially become a chronic source of pain as well.
In the initial stages, when the deformity is not extreme, you can receive help with a silicone brace or straightener to prevent it from progressing. But if it reaches a critical stage, there's no option other than surgery.
In environments where you have to stand or sit for long hours, muscles in the calves can stiffen, slowing down blood circulation, leading to the development of varicose veins. Varicose veins are swollen and twisted blood vessels that are caused by problematic blood circulation. This is Seo Sang-yang, who is seeking medical treatment due to varicose veins that have long caused her trouble.
My foot is cold, it pulls, hurts, and is numb. I can't even describe it.
The number of women who have varicose veins is double that of men. This is because of hormonal changes that many of them see due to pregnancy and childbirth, which causes the weakening of blood vessels.
When the progression is minimal, you can use preservation methods such as wearing compression stockings. But if it further progresses, we treat it with hardening medical shots. And if it's severe with regurgitation in the blood flow, we have to carry out surgery.
These symptoms in the legs is not only problematic for appearances but also for overall health, so it's important to take precautions and be aware of potential dangers.
This looks painful. Oh, that looks painful, right? And it's all from the shoes that you choose to wear. Now, this happens mostly with women because of the amount of heels that they wear, but at the same time, it can happen to men too.
Exactly. So men are not immune from these conditions. The risk factors for plantar fasciitis in men would include excessive exercise, being overweight, and spending long hours on your feet. For men, wearing very stiff, compressive, constrictive dress shoes can cause malformations in the feet. And although varicose veins are more common in women, risk factors in men would include having a family history, being obese, and spending prolonged hours sitting or standing. These can all lead to varicose veins.
We just heard that in the report that it's varicose veins are caused by poor blood circulation, but how does wearing compression stockings help? Wouldn't that worsen the condition?
No, so actually the veins in your legs are working against gravity to try to recirculate the blood from your feet up to your heart. Compression stockings, what they do is they decrease the swelling of the legs, they prevent the blood from pooling in your legs, and they add extra pressure to the veins to help squeeze the blood back up from the lower part of your body to your chest. I highly recommend compression stockings for all my patients with varicose veins. They're very effective, not that expensive, and a good first-line therapy.
I think I've heard many times about the varicose veins and its symptoms, but not really about plantar fasciitis. So what are some of the signs that people can look out for that particular condition, apart from the soles of your feet hurting?
Right, so you can ask yourself these questions. Do you have pain in your foot, the bottom of your foot, when you wake up in the morning and first start to walk? Also, is there pain when you press the bottom of your foot? Also, is the pain worse when you're going up the stairs? The pain of plantar fasciitis usually develops slowly over time, But there can be acute onset if you've had, say, very intense activity. So that's something to keep in mind.
So it would be like a stinging pain on the sole of your foot.
In the arch, right? Are we talking about in the arch of the feet?
The arch of the foot, usually towards the heel area.
Okay.
Ah, that's what that was.
Okay, let's talk about bunions now. Some mothers have bunions and their daughters have bunions. Is it because of their daily habits or is this genetic?
Well, we're not exactly sure of the cause of bunions, but we do think it's multifactorial in terms of the causes. So there's probably some genetics involved, also abnormal foot mechanics, and if there's any abnormalities in the foot structure issues, that can also cause problems. In terms of bunions, footwear, we can't blame footwear 100% of the time, but certainly if you're wearing constricting, narrow shoes, that can perhaps play a role in the formation of bunions.
Those pointy shoes are to blame.
Okay, so varicose veins as well as bunions and plantar fasciitis. What can you do to prevent this from happening to you?
Right, so to prevent bunions, what you can do is use an elastic band and stretch your toes laterally. We'll see that in a video coming up. Yes.
Like that.
And you can also try picking up the next,
Seems
picking
simple
up a
enough.
towel with your big toe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good exercise for your toe. For plantar fasciitis, you can use a towel to stretch and strengthen the bottom of your foot. And for varicose veins, you can do this exercise by supporting your body against a wall with your hands, and then bend and extend your knee by pushing your heel into the ground. Simply elevating the legs as often as possible is also a good preventive measure against varicose veins.
I used to love pinching people with my toes.
Now you have an excuse to do that.
It's a good exercise for my bunions. All right, well, thank you, doctor, for your report today.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
All right, have a great day on this Human Rights Day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.